So question number 13 on the review worksheet here, part A, says find dy dx as a function of t. They gave us expressions for both x and y in terms of t and the interval that we were working on. So when I look at finding dy dx, I think about finding dy dt and dx dt and then dividing those two things. So dy dt will be 2 cosine of t, x dt will be 3 sine of t. So when we divide those two things, we have 2/3 of the cotangent of t. And so that would be the answer to part A. Then for part B, it says write the equation of the line tangent to the curve where t is equal to pi over 4. So to write the equation of the line tangent, we're going to need to know the x-coordinate when t is pi over 4. We can find that by plugging into this equation for t. We need to find the y-coordinate. We can do that by plugging pi over 4 into this equation for t. And we need to find the slope when t is pi over 4, and we can do that by plugging in pi over 4 into that equation. So let's start with that. The slope at pi over 4 is going to be the cotangent of pi over 4, which is 1, and 1 times 2/3 will give us 2/3 for the slope. Plugging in to y and x, pi over 4 for t into y, and pi over 4 for t into x, will give us what we see here, with the sine of pi over 4 being square root 2 over 2, and the cosine of pi over 4 being square root of 2 over 2. So we have an x-coordinate, we have a y-coordinate, and we have a slope. We're ready to write the equation of the tangent line. It'll be y minus the y-coordinate equals the slope times x minus the x-coordinate. And finally, for part C, this is a calculator active part of the question. It says the curve intersects the y-axis twice. So if it's going to intersect the y-axis, the vertical axis, if it's going to intersect the y-axis, that'd be the vertical axis, we want the x value to equal 0. So if we want the x value to equal 0, that means the cosine of t has to be 2/3. And again, we are in quadrants 1 and 4 here. So there will be two different values of t for which the cosine is a positive number. One will be in quadrant 1 and one will be in quadrant 4. If you do the inverse cosine of 2/3 on your calculator, you'll get the positive one, the one in the first quadrant. And then you need to know that the other one will be in the fourth quadrant, and so it'll just be the negative of that. So if we want to find the length of the curve between these two values of t, we can integrate between those values the change in x with respect to t squared plus the change in y with respect to t squared and take the square root. So substituting in dx dt squared will be 3t, the quantity, 3 sine t, the quantity squared. dy dt will be 2 cosine t, the quantity squared. When we square those, we'll have 9 sine squared and 4 cosine squared, respectively. Plugging this into the calculator and integrating will give you 3.75656. So approximately 3.7566 will be the length of the curve between those two values. So I hope that helps with the worksheet in general and in particular question number 13. Good luck studying this weekend.